الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين أما بعد. One of the things we always hear about in lectures and khutub is the age of Khadija radiallahu anha at the time when she married Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And everybody says she was 40 years of age and he sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was 25 years of age. We find this in the books of Sirah, we find this in lectures and series of durus. We find a lot of ulama talk about this. But if we actually look in the classic books and look at the asanid, the chains of narrators that report this, we find this is not true. And I know this is a shocking news, but if we find this to be something that is just ingrained in our mind, it's only because not enough people have researched this issue. If we go back and look at some of the classic books and some of the recent research done, we'll find a different scenario. If we look at the book As-Sirah al-Nabawiyya al-Sahihah of Dr. Amri, it's a very well-written book looking at the authentic narrations and separating what is sahih from da'if in the Sirah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You will find Dr. Amri has put forward an opinion from Ibn Ishaq. Ibn Ishaq, one of the early and great scholars of Sirah, that Khadija radiallahu anha was actually 28 years of age when she married Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. As we know, he was sallallahu alaihi wasallam 25 years of age. And he has put forward a very important point, which is that if we look at the narrations of Khadija radiallahu anha being 40 years of age at the time of marriage, they are all reported from Waqidi as originally in the Tabaqat of Ibn Sa'd. Who is Al-Waqidi? Al-Waqidi is a very weak narrator. His name is Muhammad bin Umar Al-Waqidi, and Imam Ahmad said about him that he's a kadhab, he's a liar. Imam Muslim, the famous Imam Muslim, he said about him he's matruk, he's rejected. Yahya bin Ma'in and others rejected him as well. Imam al-Nisa'i, he said about him laysa bishay, that he is nothing, his narrations are not acceptable. So if we're depending on something, then all of the asanid go through a narrator who is so weak that he is considered a liar and he's matruk, he's rejected in hadith. How can we depend upon that? In fact, Dr. Amri makes another point. He says if Khadija radiallahu anha, she was at 40 years of age at marriage, and we know that she had 6 kids with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, 2 sons and 4 daughters. And many of them were more than 2 years apart. That means well into her 60th year of life she was giving birth to children. And this is not something common. If it's a miracle, it should have been recorded amongst the miracles of the Sahaba, and it wasn't. So this is another point to show that this is a weak narration. Now, if we look at the classic books of history, if we look at Al-Isaba, the classic book of Ibn Hajar Asqalani, one thing we do see for sure is that Khadija radiallahu anha was married to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam while his age was 25. And she, radiallahu anha, she was with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam for 15 years before wahi began. That means at the time that wahi began, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was 40 years of age. And if she was 40 already, then that would mean that she was around 55 years of age at the time when wahi began. So if that's true, then 10 years after wahi began, 3 years before Hijrah when she passed away, radiallahu anha, she would have been 65 years at the age of death. Now if she was closer to 25, then at the age of death, she would be 50 years old. What does the classic scholar, Ibn Kathir, the famous scholar, Ibn Kathir, in his famous book, Al-Bidayah wa-Nihaya, say about this issue? He points towards both the narrations. The narrations that mention that she was 65, yani 65 years of age, as reported by Waqidi, and this is something that has been reported and showed, and this would mean she would be 40 years of age at marriage. But then he also pointed to the fact that it's been reported that she was 50 years of age at the time of death. Now, with 15 years when wahi began and 10 years past that, taking 25 away from that, that would mean that she was about 25 years of age at the time of her marriage to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. And what does Ibn Kathir say? وَهُوَ أَصَحْ. And he says that is a stronger narration that she was about 25 years of age at the time of her death. It's very important to understand this because Ibn Kathir in Bidayah wa Nihayah is a very classic text. It is reported there that this is the more authentic opinion, that the report of Waqidi is weaker, it's rejected. In fact, Al-Hakim, Al-Bayhaqi and Ibn Ishaq, they all reported that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was 25 years of age and Khadija radiallahu anha was 25 to 28 years of age at the time of her marriage. Ibn Ishaq, one of the earliest and classic scholars of Sirah. Ibn Hisham skips the issue. He doesn't mention the age, even if in the Hashiyah some of the ulama or in the Tahqiq have put it, but he himself skipped it. So if we look at the classic scholars, this is what we find. In fact, we find it with the sanad. As mentioned in the Mustadrak على الصحيحين of Al-Hakim, he says, أخبرني أبو بكر محمد بن أحمد ثنا عبد الله بن أحمد بن حنبل, يعني the great scholar Abdullah bin Ahmad, the son of Ahmad bin Hanbal. حدثني أحمد بن محمد بن أيوب ثنا إبراهيم بن سعد and Muhammad ibn Ishaq. And this Al-Hakim is reporting all the way from Ibn Ishaq, the classic scholar of Sirah. He says, أن أبا طالب وخديجة رضي الله عنها هلك في عام واحد. يعني Abu Talib and Khadija رضي الله عنها, they passed away in the same year. وذلك قبل المهاجر النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام إلى المدينة بثلاث سنين. يعني, and this was 3 years before the hijrah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We know the hijrah was in 13th year after Nabuwah. That means 10 years after prophethood. And then he continues. He says, and كان لها يوم تزوجها, يعني the time when she married Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam 28 سنة. Ibn Ishaq says that the day she married Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, she was 28 years of age. Al-Bayhaqi in Dalal al-Nabuwah, he also mentions both narrations and he says, ويقول 50 سنة, يعني في وقت الموت she was 50 years of age, وهو أصح. Al-Bayhaqi, like Ibn Kathir says, the stronger narration is that she was 25 years of age. So what does this tell us? Every narration that mentions that she was 40 years of age, they go back to Waqidi, who is a kadhab, he's a matruk, he's extremely weak in hadith. And the classic scholars like Ibn Kathir, Ibn Ishaq, Al-Bayhaqi, all of them have come to the conclusion that she was between 25 and 28 years at the time of her marriage to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So we know that when we find the truth, we have to follow it, even if it's something that's not popular. And the truth is, the strongest narration, and the classic scholars have shown her age not to be 40 years of age, rather 25 to 28 years of age when she married Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who was 25 years of age, and her time at death was about 50 years of age.